It's the badge of the oldest service in the world, the Silver Greyhound of the Queen's Foreign Service messengers. From this room in the Foreign Office, the men who wear that badge carry top-secret papers to the farthest corners of the earth, urgent state documents which are the very stuff of history. For centuries before the Foreign Office was built, Queen's messengers were coming and going on their missions, afoot or on horseback, by post-chaise, by car. Only their means of transport have changed in 500 years. Queen's Messenger X is typical of the men chosen for this work. There are only 40 wearers of the Silver Greyhound in each generation. What he's signing is the waybill, a record of the dispatches delivered into his care. That and a special passport are his safeguard when he passes beyond his own country's frontiers. An outsized passport, printed and bound in red. Letters of identity carried little weight in days bygone. Charles II recognized naught but the Silver Greyhound when he plotted in exile. But though the pass signs have changed, the task remains the same. Those white canvas bags are a charge on the Queen's messenger's life from the moment of the signing of that waybill. It's worth noting, by the way, that each bag is not only locked and sealed, but is perforated and weighted. A lesson learned when a U-boat captured a bag thrown from a sinking ship during the First World War. Air travel, like its predecessors, railways and steamships, has speeded up the Queen's messenger's task. It's a far cry from the days when his standard equipment was a coach and 4 horses, food and wine lockers, a pair of pistols and a sword. Then the only stop would have been to change horses, but that was before modern highwaymen got around. Although the Foreign Office background gives him an advantage over the ordinary traveler at the outset of a journey, it is from then on that his advantage ceases. Not for a moment must those bags go from out of his sight. Not until journey's end may he relax. And by the way, that old belief that a Queen's messenger can bypass the customs, don't you believe it. Any suspicion of contraband, and the officer can insist on being present at an embassy when the bags are opened. Anything to declare is a question always answered before the bags are passed. The shortest way in the shortest time. That's his guiding rule as summed up in the reign of George III. But short though the time en route may be, the needs of security make heavy demands both before and after a journey. Whether traveling by air, sea or land, tradition insists that the Queen's messenger and his sealed bags shall be installed in almost royal isolation before the first ordinary passenger arrives on board. In almost royal isolation. It's a fanciful phrase, but it well defines duties which bring a man into close contact with his fellows, yet keep them at a distance. Even the beautiful spy of legend is confined mostly to his books, and there's faint hope that someone might attempt to slip drugs into his teacup when there's a supremely efficient air hostess always to hand. Today it's a trip to Vienna, tomorrow China or Peru. It means in the main just a different engine cowling, or maybe the sight of a familiar face among the crew. But adventure, that lies far below. Maybe it'll come when the plane lands at the next airport, Zurich. Switzerland has everything the adventurous might seek. Thrills and much else await those who land at Zurich, but not the Queen's messenger. His job has lost its dangers and its discomforts too in these modern Elizabethan days. Though he may fly a distance equal to 9 times round the earth each year, he can only see the sights through a window, for he must keep lonely guard on his dispatches every moment of the time en route. Most of them secretly envy the romantic job of that man with the seat to himself inside, but the crew know better. 1,000 hours a year is the average flying time of each Queen's messenger. No contact with the ground for a third of each working year can make journey's end welcome in any land. Vienna Airport offers the first prospect of adventure for the Queen's messenger on this route, for it stands in the midst of Russian-occupied territory. Were it an airdrome in Poland, no passenger could land except under guard, and even an R.A.F. transport plane would not be allowed to refuel. Dispatches for Romania, Bulgaria and Hungary could not be delivered except via the Orient Express train. But here in Vienna, diplomatic courtesies still count. The security guard who takes the bags direct from his hand is on the staff of the British Embassy. To reach the international center, which lies some distance from the airport, the car must pass along a road through Russian-occupied territory. Cars enter that road through a barrier guarded by R.A.F. and Austrian police. Other barriers, guarded for a month in turn by British, Russians, French and Americans, have still to be passed. Vienna, meeting place for the diplomatic couriers of a dozen nations, today just as it was after the fall of Napoleon. A city of intrigue, music and dreams for you and me, but for the Queen's messenger, just the home of an important British embassy. Here for centuries the Habsburgs ruled. Here were planned many crusades. Here Wellington's foreign policy was shaped by Lord Castlereagh. Here today the steps of yet another Queen's messenger have turned. For his predecessors, Vienna was the end of 1,000 miles ride. For him, it's only a few hours from home, yet like them, he left time for little more than a glance before, as bearer of the Silver Greyhound, he's speeding once more across the world.